TBTL.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Hey Dummies. I'm Andrew, I'll be your dummy today, and this of course is the TBTL video series where we, myself and Luke Burbank over there in southern Washington, will answer any question that you throw at us, and you can throw those questions at us, or you can hand them to us. You can softly toss them to us if you'd like. You can throw them at us overhand, but do it all via email. Email me, Andrew at tbtl.net, and put "Hey Dummies" in the subject line. We'd really love it to get more questions. We'd really love it to get more questions. Maybe questions like, Andrew, how'd you learn how to talk so good? Today's question, I'm a little bit nervous about today's question. I'm not nervous about today's question. The question is great. I'm nervous about the answer that I may provide because it's on the topic of music. And I don't know that I'm the best person to talk about music, but Cameon says, I love listening to the music for your weekend choices. Again, how did I learn to talk so good? That'd be a great question to send to me. I love listening to the music for your weekend choices, yours, Luke's, and the listeners. And I was wondering how you find these songs and musicians that you feature. By the way, quick aside here, if you don't know what we're talking about, one of the longest standing segments on the podcast until recently was Music for Your Weekend. Again, I was stuttering on that, where Luke and I, and back in the day, Luke and Jen would share music with each other. We recently had to stop doing that because of kind of music rights issues when we upload our podcast to platforms like Spotify and YouTube. We get in trouble when they realize we've been playing copyrighted music, which is a real bummer. I love that segment. We've been doing it on the as part of the email. You can scroll down right now and see my choice for this week's Music for Your Weekend, and that's been fun too. I enjoy writing little blurbs about it. So that's where Music for Your Weekend lives now in the newsletter. But Cameon says, it seems like the music you pick is very obscure to me, as I have almost never heard of the musicians featured. Granted, I am a 69-year-old retired person, although my younger son is a good source of new music, but I'd like your answers to the following questions. Number one, do you have a source that you rely on for finding new songs? Not a specific source that I can mention now. I will say way back in the day, long before I was even part of TBTL, I was really into going to like what we used to call MP3 blogs or music blogs at the time, and like staying really up to date on like new music from new artists, and I would download the MP3s and make mixtapes out of them. For a while there, it really was a hobby to like search out new music and enjoy it and share it with my friends. I don't really do that. I mean, I will say I still get emails from like publication companies and like record labels that are touting new music. So sometimes I discover new music that way. I go through phases though. Recently I haven't really been opening those emails. It's just felt like a deluge, and so I've been deleting them. But there are other phases of my life where I will go through those and I'll discover new music that way. Sometimes it's just literally hearing it on the radio or satellite radio. A lot of it is word of mouth. I mean, some of the songs I'm most obsessed with, or artists I'm most obsessed with, again, some of the artists I'm most obsessed with, maybe were things that listeners sent in for the Music for Your Weekend segment, and that's how I was introduced to it. Then I dig deeper into their catalog. Friends will recommend things I like. That's one thing that sort of feels like kind of still kind of an old school delight, is kind of sharing new music with friends, texting them a link to a YouTube video and saying, hey, have you heard of these guys? So I wouldn't say I have one particular source, but just generally keeping my ears open for things that I like. Let's see here. The next question is, how many songs do you listen to before you find one that you think is wonderful enough to recommend to us? I mean, ideally, I'm not like just digging through a whole bunch of music looking for one. My approach that I try to follow for this particular Music for Your Weekend segment is to just play for you guys whatever I've been playing lately, whatever I've been obsessed with. Now, there are times where I don't listen to a lot of music. I might go through phases where I'm just listening to tons of talk radio and podcasts, and so then I might feel a little bit of pressure to find something. But right now I've been listening to a lot of new music. I would say that the tougher thing is I get obsessed with a new band or a new album, and then that's all I listen to for a few weeks. I like to really kind of get into it, like kind of let the music kind of wear a groove into my brain. and then I feel pressure to find something else because I can't just play the same artist 2 or 3 weeks in a row, which is something that I've wanted to do before. But usually I try to find something that I can just say, hey, this is something I've been listening to lately, and here it is. Let's see here. The next question, do you actually have a backlog of songs in case you don't have time to find a recommendation? Actually, sort of. When I'm going through a phase where I'm listening to a lot of new music, I create a little playlist for the month or the season, like maybe by spring, summer, or whatever, and I'll just like start loading a bunch. If I hear a song that I like, I'll load it into that playlist so that I can keep it for the future, but also that playlist becomes sort of a guide for future music for your weekends. So that's sort of how I kind of tag songs to play later for you guys. Is this process different than Luke's? That I'm not sure. That would be a question for Luke. Do you feel pressure to find songs and artists that are pretty obscure but also pretty great? That I will say no to. I don't, I mean, listen, when Luke and I will be trading music, sometimes it is fun to have that sense of discovery. I want to play something that maybe Luke has never heard before, but I think he would really like. But not necessarily, I don't think that being on the cutting edge of music trends is really something that I'm known for. Again, I love oldies. I love listening to my old Kixie radio. So sometimes I'll hear something that is from the 60s or 70s, and I'll share it. I mean, I'm not going to share something that is like literally like everybody knows it. I'm not going to put Please Mr. Postman as music for your weekend unless it's some sort of like more obscure cover of that. But for the most part, like I just try to play something that I like. It doesn't have to be cutting edge or impressive in any particular way, as evidenced by a lot of the Donovan that I've probably played on the show over the years. Let's see here. In line with question number 5, I don't remember what question we're on anymore. Do you ever want to recommend a mainstream song that I may have even heard of? Yeah, definitely. Like I looked for evidence of this. I could not find evidence of this, but I swear I've just played like Beyonce songs before, haven't I? Or certainly like a Nicki. I know that I was obsessed with Nicki Minaj when I was in LA. And I was probably choosing some of her songs off of her very popular Pink album. Wow, it's so amazing to think how old isn't her record called the Pink album? Do you know, Cameon? Is it? Yeah. No, it's called the Pink Print, I believe. And that's already 10 years old, I think. Holy macaroons. Okay, and then the final question here from Cameon is, what is your all-time favorite love song? Love song. Mine is a tie between That's How Strong My Love Is by Otis Redding and The Air That I Breathe cover by K.D. Lang. Now, this is interesting. First of all, the first time I scanned this question, I didn't realize it was a question specifically about a love song. I thought it was just asking what is my all-time favorite song, which is a very difficult question. I don't have a great answer to either, except, and I think this fits the category, for the longest time, if you asked me, this is quite a coincidence, Cameon. For the longest time, if you asked me what my favorite song is, I would have told you The Umbrella Song by the Hollies. You know that song, Under My Umbrella? It's about a couple. They kind of meet cute while they're waiting for a bus, and it starts raining, so they share an umbrella, and then their love grows. Guess who does that song? The Hollies, the same band, I believe, that did the original version of The Air That I Breathe. So it looks like we have something in common. Look at that. Cameon, send in your music for your weekend for next weekend, and I'll include it in the newsletter, okay? Maybe it'll be one of these songs. Maybe it'll be something else. But anyway, and it says Cameon received a Spreadsheet friendship bracelet today. I'm glad to hear it. All right. That was a really long video, and I said a lot of words, and I don't know if you're still watching this. It's okay if you're not. But I enjoyed talking with you. Please send me more questions. Andrew@tbtl.net is the email address, and put Hey Dummies in the subject line. And also you can email me directly any songs that you'd like to suggest for the Music for Your Weekend newsletter segment now, and I'll share them with the listeners. Hope y'all have a great weekend. Get out those records. Play them loudly. Not too loudly. Be careful. Your ears, they're precious. I should probably go. Bye.